You know it's getting serious when the Chicago River freezes over, and you can see it's iced over from bank to bank right now.
Over 90 million people waking up to life-threatening sub-zero temperatures this morning. States of emergency declared across the Midwest.
It is so severely cold that the rail operators are lighting the rails on fire with the commuter trains. And that is because the rails can get so cold that they shrink. They can crack. They can actually shear off the bolts. It happened in Minneapolis, St. Paul, where the blue line had a crack in the line. Fortunately, the worst that developed out of that was a number of delays for the people commuting.
Dangerous wind chills for 121 million people from the Dakotas to the Northeast all the way down to North Carolina.
Nope, not gonna sing that. How's it going, everyone? It's me, Demetrius Villa, president of the American Rail Club, and if you want passenger rail to get better in the United States, pay attention because this is pretty important. Now, if you've been listening to the news this week, I'm pretty sure you've heard about the polar vortex that has come through the Midwest. Now, I have been living in the Midwest for the past year or so, and right now I'm not there at the moment because I'm in Miami for a pretty big conference. But I was there on the 31st, and I got out yesterday, so it was pretty brutal. I'm going to tell you right now. And being in Indianapolis, while the wind chill factor is, negative below like 10 or something like that, negative 14, and having the mayor coming out and say, people stay inside, it's pretty bad. And then you have other places like in Chicago, where it was negative 50 with the wind chill. And other places in Wisconsin, Minnesota, Ohio, Indiana, everywhere else, it was pretty cold. So with that, we know that transportation can be pretty bad, especially when people need to get out of certain places or whatnot. Now, unfortunately, Amtrak had a pretty bad situation because a lot of the trains this week were canceled. In fact, one entire day was canceled out of Chicago because of the weather. Now, Metro was also putting some lines on fire in order to make sure that the lines didn't crack because of the temperature changes and the damage that it would cause between the contractions of thermal contraction and whatnot. Now, Amtrak doesn't really have that same amount of power, let's say, as Metro, which has more of a commuter rail. Amtrak is much more of intercity rail. Now, the problem is Amtrak they don't own those tracks. As you know, a lot of the tracks they don't own. They're actually rented through from freight railroad companies that own those tracks. But the thing is, Amtrak is still a government-funded corporation. It's still a government-owned, it's a national railroad that we've had here since 1971. And this petition that was brought out by Rick Harnish, which if you haven't seen this episode, do click here in the link we're going to have above, because it's a pretty good episode on the Midwest and getting high-speed rail there by the Midwest High-Speed Rail Association. So go ahead, click that link, and watch the interview because it's really interesting to see the amount of opportunity that is there for the Midwest, especially when it comes to bringing out more rail transportation with commuter rails, urban lines, and of course, high-speed rail, which is sort of our forte over here. But we do understand that urban rail, freight rail, every other type of rail is super important, which is why we've expanded to American Rail Club. And it's been helping us a lot because that's why we're growing. Now, this petition over here to go ahead and let Congress know and also politicians know about what's going on with Amtrak, that they've had to stop service, is pretty important. So, negative 40 below, if you know that in Celsius, it's also the same in Fahrenheit. Well, in places like China, for example, they have trains that can operate at that speed that were specifically made for that speed. Amtrak, being the company that hasn't really been able to update its trains for the longest of times, doesn't have that capability. So, what is this petition going to do? This petition is going to get the attention of, again, your local congressmen, your local senators, and your governor, as well as the President of the United States, in order to know what is going on with Amtrak and to please fund Amtrak. Now, I do agree that this is a good sort of petition in order to get attention and interest into it. Now, on behalf of what the government is going to do, that's a whole different story. And if you guys have been following history, since 1971, we've had Democrat presidents, we've had Republican presidents, we've had Democrat majority Senate and House, we've had Republican-controlled House and Senate. And mostly been in Democrats' favor when it comes to the Senate and the House, which has been more important when it comes to funding. Now, with all of that, nothing substantial has happened. I know some of you think that the Democrats are much more friendly to Amtrak. Not really. There hasn't been really a big push for Amtrak, because if it would have been, there would be a lot more coming in. Now, what this petition does do, when you sign it, and if it gets signed enough signatures, it will bring more attention to the issue. And that's the important part, especially when we have President Trump, which is one of the only few candidates during the 2016 election cycle to actually mention about rail transportation in this country, especially passenger rail. The only other candidate that has done that is Bernie Sanders, and, well, he wasn't going to have any luck at the DNC if you guys knew what was happening there. But politics aside, this is, well, politics aside, but this is a political issue, which is what we understand. Rail transportation has become so politicized in this country. But again, let's the politics aside. This is an important issue to bring the attention of rail transportation in this country and the need to go ahead and update our infrastructure to the 21st century. So go ahead, the link to the petition is below. And go ahead, in this video we have the link as well. Do sign the petition, do share it with your friends. Go ahead and share it on Facebook, share it on Twitter, and go ahead and tell your friends, because this is an important petition to get out there. And if we get enough signatures, it will be able to be a chance to go ahead and bring the conversation to the national and state spotlight. So thank you for watching this. Hope you stay safe out there, especially in the Midwest. Again, it's cold, it's dangerous. Stay safe, stay inside if you have to, and if you do have to go outside, cover up, because the frostbite is really nasty. Again, thank you for watching the American Rail Club. If you like these videos, do subscribe. This weekend we're not going to really have such a big video because, again, I am traveling. However, this coming week I am getting up a special video about China. If you do want to get involved with that, get in the group, the Facebook group. Go ahead and join in. I do have the thread still up, so if you want anything in that video, if you think there's something interesting in the China video, go ahead and let me know. See you all next time.